Tampa Bay Buccaneers have already made several key moves to their 2025 season, but how will that affect their 3-round mock draft? My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we've got another one coming up for you here in a second. But before we do that, do all the internet stuff, subscribe, ring the bell, like, comment, and Ryan, let's get into it here. So, want to start
Let's do
off
it.
here real quick. Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans, we have had a long offseason debate so far about Chris Godwin, and I will say y'all were right. He signed a 3-year, $66 million contract, and supposedly two based off reports. Ryan, your Patriots were throwing a bag at him, like $30 million a
Apparently,
year. And he's
yeah,
like, nope.
they were gonna
Uh,
throw 28 million a year with an extra year on the contract.
I will say I've lived in Georgia for most of my life. I don't blame him for wanting to stay in Tampa Bay versus going to living in Boston solely based off the weather.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
so
but
that's
$40
that's a
million
separate.
dollars can buy you a lot of coats.
I think he's already doing well for himself, just in
Yeah,
general.
that's fair.
And so,
Yeah.
but also $30 million can buy you a really nice boat, or $22 million can buy you a really nice boat. So
Yeah.
that's a separate conversation here. I think when you look at the Buccaneers too, and you go look at the moves that they've made, they address the edge rusher position at several key spots. They've re-signed a couple of key veterans as well, such as Kyle Trask. Just joking. Ben Bredesen is a non-joking one. That's a key re-signing as well. Greg Gaines also too. Levante David coming back. They have signed Hassan Reddick also too up to this point here on a 1-year deal. So one area they haven't really focused on overall, they do have Kindle Vildor that they did end up signing, but that secondary as a whole is an area that they haven't really addressed too much as of yet. And so I think that's going to be a primary focus for them overall, especially when it comes to their first pick here. And something we were talking about before, Will Johnson falling just a little bit. I think he would slot in perfectly being that outside corner here. He can come in and play pretty immediately or provide some good options, some good depth. But I think long term he could potentially be a good number one corner.
Yeah, I mean, you go look at his 2023 tape, and if he had played in 2024, we'd be talking about him as a top 5 pick. The big thing is just that injury. He hasn't really had an offseason process. I think his rehab might be taking a little bit longer than what was originally thought, and so I think it's just kind of one turning some teams off. But then also, while he's not doing anything to improve his draft stock, other guys are, and he's just kind of slowly getting bumped down
Hmm.
some draft boards. So I feel like this is
Yeah.
tremendous value. I look back to a couple years ago when Christian Gonzalez went to my Patriots. That to me reminds me a little bit of this, where it's just like, well, there's a few concerns here, but you definitely take a swing on this high caliber corner here at this pick. So
Yeah.
I mean, this would be tremendous value in my opinion.
Yeah. No, no, no. It's I agree with that. It's especially if he falls this far and you look at all the needs that this team has, it's like I can't think of anything else that would benefit the team the most as of right now, just the way
Yeah,
our board fell. And so maybe you could go edge rusher like someone specific like Donovan Ezraku, who's going to fit that outside linebacker role. But you have a lot of edge rushers already that are on your team as of right now. You did draft us on Reddick, so I think that could be a different route that you could end up going. And so moving on to the second pick here in the second round for them, we ended up double dipping in the secondary, but going with a different type of guy here, Nick Armanwari. Ryan, I think you said this a couple months ago, but Nick Armanwari is like one taco away from being a linebacker. And
yeah,
I think that's actually kind of would maybe fit a similar need to what Tampa Bay would be looking for here. They did resign Levante David, yes, and then they do also have Servaka Dennis. Uh,
Servassier.
Servassier. That's a lot cooler way to say that than how I said it. But Servassier Dennis as well. And then they did sign Anthony Walker out of Miami. But I think to having a guy like Nick Armanwari who has that versatility to be a strong safety, to be nickel corner, to maybe bring him up into the box as well. He'll add some versatility, I think, to this secondary as a whole, the back end of this defense. And so that was kind of our thought process as well. What do you think of Nick Armanwari? And also, what are some other potential routes they could end up going here in the
Yeah,
second round?
I mean, we've talked a lot about Shamar Stewart going and lighting up the combine. Nicky Emmanwori is just he had a combine performance in and of himself. I think he ran like a 4.46 at 220 pounds, and he has the ball skills and everything that you want to see on tape. He's just doing it at a much heavier weight, and so I feel like getting him here at pick 53, there is some like positional concerns. Sometimes these tweeners fall just because teams don't necessarily know how to use them. But I think you put him in this Todd Bowles defense where he can kind of be like a closer to the line of scrimmage safety. I think that that's going to be a really good fit for this team. They could go this route. If they don't go corner, they could also go Siobhan Ravel, or Ben Morrison has been a big faller due to his hip injury. CJ West, I think, would also be an interesting option just as like a run stuffing defensive tackle that has a good bit of pass rush upside there as well if they want to continue to address the defensive line. But yeah, I mean, this is a really solid pick here, I think, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So moving on to the next pick here. We didn't get Donovan Ezaraku earlier on in the draft, but they still get their designated pass rusher here in Josaiah Stewart. Really, really fast edge rusher from Michigan. His big thing and why he falls this far is just he's undersized. He's 6'2", 240 pounds. And he's going to be a situational pass rusher. That's what he is. He's very good at it, but he's not really going to ever develop, I think, into a true 3-down defender just because he's such a liability in the run game just due to his overall size.
Yeah, and I think too as well. They did get Hassan Reddick, but that is just on a 1-year, $14 million deal. You still want to get some youth, some development guys that potentially can take over that spot, go across from Yaya Diaby. You still have guys like Shaq Barrett who are free agents, but they're probably not going to be re-signing him up now to this point. So I think this could be a good round that they could end up going here, and they are addressing the defensive line in a sense, even though he's definitely going to be more in that outside linebacker role. But I think that would be an interesting area that we didn't end up addressing overall is just that like the pure defensive line, like with them running that 3-4. How does that? How can they go and add some improvement, or are they still seeing good development from Clyde Chikansey and Logan Hall, just in general? And so I think that's going to be an interesting route, an area that we maybe could have addressed a little bit more. But the way the board fell as a whole, I liked getting Will Johnson. I like getting Nick Emmanwori, really addressing that secondary as a whole. And I think you go and get Josiah Stewart with a lot of upside as a whole to come in and provide some more pass rushing pressure
Yeah.
would be good. If they wanted to switch things around a little bit and get another
Oh,
guy
sorry.
in the secondary, very good. And Andrew Makuba, I think, could be the guy
Yeah.
maybe that can come out and help in the safety room as a
Yeah.
whole. But in general, though, I think when you get to this point, I think it's going to be best player available. I think day 3 is going to be focused a lot on offensive depth as a whole because I really like the offensive line that they have going in Tampa Bay. I like their 3-headed monster when it comes to that receiving room of Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Jalen McMillan as a whole. Bucky Irving, Rashawn White is a really good running back tandem as well. And Baker Mayfield, he's not that bad himself either. And sarcasm, obviously, he's a really good quarterback. So I think people in Tampa really like having him down there. So this offense is kind of set, I would say.
Yeah.
So defensively is going to be where I think the primary focus is going to be. And with those first 2 picks, I think those guys can come in and provide a lot of good quality minutes to help out that secondary.
Yeah, and then we did one last potential option was Jordan Birch for the 3rd round pick. That he is going to be like kind of that 5 technique in that 3-3-4 system where he's going to be kind of in between the tackle and the guard and be
Mm-hmm.
that like hand in the dirt 3-4 end. And so that could be another option if you want to go that route as well for your edge rusher there. But yeah, I really like this draft for the Buccaneers. I think you look at a lot of their weaknesses. I feel like we were able to address them just as a whole. And looking forward, I mean, this Tampa Bay team, this offense was really good. The thing that was really impressive was just the development in the run game. Bucky Irving came in and had a really, really good rookie season. That offensive line improved drastically. And then even with all the injuries to the receivers, Baker Mayfield still looked really solid for this team. So yeah, this is a formidable opponent, I think, for anybody going forward
Mm-hmm.
in the NFC, not just the NFC South. So let's go ahead. Let's wrap up the video there. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of this Tampa Bay Buccaneers 3-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? None of that. We'll see you guys next time.